Today, we're looking at Lost Cities. Let's set it up. Lost Cities is a card game where you're trying to build the longest run of similar colored cards. In the base game, there are 5 different colors or suits of cards, although in the new edition, there is a 6th color as a variant. On your turn, you play a card in front of you either in one of the 5 expedition spaces or on one of the 5 discard spaces. These match the colors of the cards in the game. The points you get at the end of the game are based upon the numbers in that expedition pile. So the higher the numbers you get, the bigger the points you get. After you've played a card either in front of you or in the discard piles, you then pick a card either from the deck or one of the discard piles. There is one other card that is not a number for each color in the deck. These multiply the scores at the end of the game for that expedition color. However, much like lower numbers, this has to be played before any numbers on your expedition area. To really understand the game, you need to know how the game is scored. Each color in front of you is an automatic minus 20 points for that particular expedition. For instance, if you put one card down that's white and you have no other cards, you have an automatic minus 20 plus whatever number you put on there. For instance, if I put the number 2 as a white card in the white pile and that's the only one I have a negative 18 score for an expedition on the white. Now the extra card called the hand card, this multiplies what that total expedition number is. The first one multiplies it by 2, then by 3, and then by 4. This applies to both positive and negative scores. So in that previous example, if I had had one hand and a number 2 in the white, I would have a minus 20 plus the 2, which gives me a negative 18. Then I multiply that by 2, so I have a negative 36. As you can see, this can be very tricky if you do not plan correctly. There is one bonus as well for getting at least 8 cards of a single color. So the strategy is, how do I keep my opponent from getting the cards they want without limiting myself in the process? Now let's get to some shelf stats. As you can see, the box itself is small. It's the Cosmos 2-player line size box, which is smaller and skinnier than the Ticket to Ride box. As a card game, this is very quick to set up. Takes about this long. As a card game, this does not take up much room on your table. This is a 3x3 mat, and as you can see, it easily fits within the confines of this. Be aware, these cards are tarot size, not your normal poker size cards, so they are a little bigger, but this still does not add much to the amount of space it requires on your table. The board that is used with this is purely optional, as you could get rid of it to save a little bit of room if you needed to. Now, if you're colorblind like myself, you may have some issues with the game depending on what version you have. The newest version have icons to help you determine which suit or color is which. The version I have does not have this, and so I have run into difficulties determining the difference between reds and greens specifically for me. However, with some practice you can get over this, as it is mostly on the cards with the hand signs, as they are very similar and it's just a small picture in the background that is different for each of those. The main numbers all have a different feel to them as far as the background picture, and so if you play it once or twice, you would probably be able to tell the difference between those just based upon the background picture, but it can still be difficult, so something to be aware of. However, in the new version that is fixed, and so you do have icons for each individual color. The thing that makes this an interesting game is getting into your partner's mind and figuring out what color they need and what numbers you think they have. You may bait them with a certain color number to try to get them to start that, knowing that you may have higher numbers that they can't get to. Or you may throw a couple numbers out on purpose and keep the lower ones or put a gap between them to trip them up. An interesting choice in this game is choosing where you draw your cards from. You can draw them from the main deck, which is the timer for the game. When this runs out, the game is over. You can also draw them from the discard piles. This is an interesting choice because do you risk making the game run faster to look for a certain card, or do you slow the game down by drawing from the discard pile? Maybe you've discarded one in a pile specifically to pick it up later after your opponent discards something. These choices plus the scoring mechanism in this game is what makes this game interesting. Playing this game over and over with the same person creates a meta where you are trying to determine how they are playing, and it makes you get into their mind. Over time, they're going to have to change their strategy, otherwise you will win all the time. But how you will have to do the same to avoid that. Why would you like this? It's easy to teach, easy to learn, and easy to play. It offers interesting choices and yet is light enough that you can still have a casual game without being too serious. Why would you not like this? Besides the colorblind issues, if you do not like mathiness in your games, this may not be for you. The scoring at the end can be a little tricky if math is not your thing. You may not like it because it's a two-player game. Playing this with the same player over and over could cause it to be the same if that player does not adjust their strategies at all, or if you don't. This could cause the game to become stale and boring. Overall, Lost Cities is an exceptional game that is quick and fun. It offers interesting choices that is not too complex to keep you from having a good time talking casually with another partner. If you like what you've seen, please like or subscribe below or leave a comment. My name is Joe, and you're watching Dice of Wrath.